Hello everyone and welcome to our tutorial on React's useContext hook. Today we're diving into one of React's most powerful features for managing state across components without prop drilling. Whether you're a beginner or an experienced developer, this video will help you understand and effectively use useContext in your projects. Let's get started. In React, passing data through components can become bulky and tightly coupled, especially when it involves passing props through multiple layers. This is known as prop drilling. But React provides a solution: context. Context allows us to share values like themes, user data, and more across our entire app, or just parts of it, without passing props through every level. First, let's set up context. We use React create context to create a new context object. This object is then used to wrap our component tree using the context provider component. The provider takes a value prop, which will be the data we want to share across components. Here's a basic example. Now, how do we access this context value in our components? This is where the useContext hook comes in. By calling useContext and passing in context we created, we can access its value easily. This makes our components cleaner and more readable, as there's no need to pass props down the component tree. Here's how it looks in a component. Let's look at a practical example. Imagine we have a theme switcher in our app. We can store the current theme in a context and use context in our components to access and modify it. This allows any component in our app to read the theme or trigger a theme change, all without prop drilling. Here's how we can implement this. While useContext is incredibly useful, it's important to use it wisely. Remember, every time the context value changes, all components consuming the context will re-render. So it's best used for global states like user data, themes, or language settings. Use local state for more granular control over re-renders and performance. Now let's cover some advanced use cases. First, we will go over using context with useReducer to scale your app, and then we will look at the app provider pattern to clean it up even further. In this example, we have our useReducer hook, which I will cover in a future video. useReducer helps keep the event handlers short and concise. Below, we have a Zelda quest log, so Link can add, edit, and delete quest. Look at this code. Our reducer is at the bottom, and we pass both our quest and event handlers to child components. Now let's clean up the prop passing with context. First, we import create context and use context, and then initialize them. Then import and provide them to your parent component. Now we don't need to pass props, so let's remove those and pull in quest from quest context. And for the event handlers, we can read quest dispatch context. Now, since we have more than one provider, we can see a bit of nesting happening. A good way to clean this up is the app providers pattern. So let's move all of our providers to an app providers component and import that as a single provider. Now we can import app provider. Now our main component is much more modular and less error prone, capable of scaling to any size, abstracting multiple providers for better readability. And that's a wrap on React's useContext hook. We've covered how to set it up, use it in components, a practical example, and even looked at a couple advanced use cases. Experiment with useContext in your projects and see how it simplifies state management. Thank you for watching. If you found this tutorial helpful, please like, comment, and subscribe for more React content.